Welcome back from the game to grace, and I am your co-host Candace Hayes.
And I'm Jerry Hayes.
And listen, we are so grateful that you are here joining in. We want to discuss about some things that we've already kind of talked about over the last past episodes, and they were healthy thought process versus relationship trauma. The second one was healing from scars of brokenness. The third one was the day I didn't just watch, I saw myself there. And the fourth one was some blended families have worked and some others have not so well, and why. So we'll just go ahead and dig in and talk about um, how we kicked it off, how we kicked it off with the healthy thought process versus relationship trauma. And this is how we kicked it off. We kicked it off talking about how my thought process was when when Jairus and I kind of first started just communicating, when we first met, and how I actually told him that um, because of past relationship trauma, that I wasn't ready to just fall into a relationship. And he understood, and I'll just let you take it from there and how your process was.
And I mean, and one of the things was you didn't continuously talk about the things that you went through, because I said in, I guess, one of the past episodes that if you would have just kind of just kept dumping on me maybe the challenges you was having and the issues you have been through or were going through, that probably could have hindered our connection, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? So, but you didn't just dump on me. You know what I'm saying? So, and I came from a place where, I didn't really have no issues in past relationships, and so you had me coming from one place, and you was coming from another place, but we was able to still connect. And I think that was more so God than anything. You know what I'm saying? So, but you did a great job of not, whether you knew you was doing it or not, you did a great job of not just continuously talking about your past issues or your stuff that you was dealing with. And I think that was key, because you don't want to make the other person feel like, even though I know what you've been through, I don't want to always talk about it, especially when our relationship was kind of in the infant stages.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about us, and let's talk about where we're headed, and not maybe what has happened or what was in the past. So I think that was a big key to our connecting at first.
Okay. Yeah, and then just allowing the time, just allowing adjustments for the process, because the saying says, hurt people hurt other people.
Yeah, that's true.
And that, both, both people that are, in that infant stage of dating or whatever, it's a process for everything. You just can't just, dive into the deep end and then think, hey, let's get it going. Let's get it going, because it's stages to everything.
Right.
So, and that's what we learned from that. It's stages to everything. Everybody has a process of getting over things. So, the next one was healing from scars of brokenness, and we kind of talked about that. You can go ahead and expound on healing from the scars of brokenness.
Yes, because I was in a situation where I really didn't, like I said earlier, I really didn't have any past relationship issues where I was had any issues in past relationships, but she did. And when I met her, she was in a pretty much a broken place, a place to where it was hard for her to trust, a place where she really didn't getting in another relationship was not something that she really wanted. And I had to I had to give her time to kind of heal, so to speak, and I couldn't kind of rush things because she was still, okay, trust. Trust was big, okay, can I trust you? I don't want to get so far with you.
Yeah.
And the same thing happened.
Happen again, the same cycle.
The same cycle. And so I had to be patient, and but we still had fun, we still connected, we still had regular conversations. And I also said in a past episode where at that time I was really having the time of my life. We had just won another national championship in that past December at University of North Alabama. And I was coming into my senior year, and so my focus was not only to win another championship, but to work to get to the NFL. And so I was focused, but I was just having so much fun because so many good things had happened, and really I kind of brought her into my world, so to speak, and so she didn't know anything about football. And so, when the season started, she would come to all the home games or whatever, and it gave her something to look forward to. It gave both of us something to look forward to, and from there, that was what I was experiencing in my life. I kind of pulled her into my world, so to speak, and that kind of helped her overcome some of maybe the past issues that she experienced, because it kind of made her feel like, man, this is an amazing experience, and something that she maybe hadn't experienced before. So, but it was a time where she needed to build trust, and she really just needed to see, did I have a motive other than just connecting with her? What was my motive behind wanting to connect with her?
Right.
And she had to make sure it wasn't my motive was right, and she had to make sure my heart was right. She had to make sure that can I trust him? And so, and she was able to. So, but it took time, and so it had to be some patience, and it had to be some maturity on both of our parts for our connection to work. So,
and what was happening was, at that particular time, it was just, I had a wall up, and it was, I was guarded. True. And sometimes when you've been hurt, or when you've been going through repeated cycles, it's just your brain and your thought process goes to, you have to be guarded. What is the motive behind what this person is doing? Because
if you experience any type of pain, whether you touch your hand to a hot stove, or whether you get your hands shut in the car door, or you stomp your toe at night getting out of bed, any kind of pain that you experience, you don't want to experience that pain again.
Right, absolutely.
And that goes with relationships, that goes with sickness, that goes with any kind of pain that you experience. You don't want to go through that pain again. So that was her thought process, and she was guarded, but through our daily conversations and through the trust she was able to build with me, that wall she had up was able to be broken down, so to speak. So.
Okay. All right, and then the next one was that day I didn't just watch; I saw myself there. And this is talking about when you're a high school coach took the seniors that played on the football team to the Atlanta Falcons NFL game, and how you envision yourself being on that field, and years later you were actually on that field. So we were kind of talking about environments and how you can get into different environments, some positive, some not so positive.
Right.
So if you can just kind of expound on that and kind of tell about your vision and what was placed before you, and even the coach to this day, he probably does not know what seed he planted into you that particular day to take you on that trip and take the other team members on that trip, what it actually did for you, so to speak.
Right. So as a kid, if you play any kind of sport, I mean, you have a dream of going to the NBA or the NFL or the MLB or whatever league, and it may be a far-fetched dream to some, but it would be a reality to others. But you had that dream because you watch them on TV, and I remember when I was a little boy, I had NFL curtains. The curtains I had in my room, they had NFL teams on them, and my bed linen and stuff had my pillowcase and everything. It had NFL teams on it, and I just remembered that, and so early on I had this NFL dream, and my high school coach, he took the seniors, my senior year, he took the seniors to the Atlanta Falcons game. They was playing the Dallas Cowboys, and as I was sitting there, I was focusing on the game, and I was looking at the environment, and as I was watching the game, I was visualizing myself being on that field, and my dream of the NFL, it wasn't just a dream anymore. It now became a reality within me, and it was a seed planted. It was that kind of sparked my vision to want to, okay, now I got a dream. Okay, now I want to put faith and action to my faith, so to speak. So, but my high school coach took us to the game, and that was probably one of the most important things that happened to me at that time, because, like I said, I was just dreaming. But when I went and got in the environment of that game, I'm like, man, I believe I can make it. So it went from a dream to a belief, and all because of I got exposed to a certain environment, and that's what an environment does. You know what I'm saying? Whatever you got a desire to do or got a desire to be, once you expose yourself to an environment, it now becomes a belief that you can become that. And that could be like, if you desire to be a famous singer or something, and you get exposed to like a concert or a major concert or one of the major stars, you see yourself on that stage. And not only it's no longer a dream, it's a reality now. So, and when I went to that game, and I saw the game, and I experienced the environment, man, it was no longer a dream. I believe I can get here. And long story short, let's see, 5 years later, I was in a different stadium, but I was in the same city in which I had saw my first NFL game. And so 5 years later, full circle, I'm back playing a preseason game with the Arizona Cardinals against the Atlanta Falcons. And so, I mean, from dream to belief to reality, so to speak. So, but it had a lot to do with the environment I was able to see myself. And that's so important for to expose kids to things where kids can see themselves becoming what they want to be.
Yeah.
And that can make all the difference in the world. So
Yeah. And then too, I was just thinking about when you were talking about that, the scripture says that God will give you the desires of your heart, and that was a desire of your heart, and not that you just didn't sit on it, you took action towards getting to the dream.
right,
So sometimes we can think about things and we can dream them, but you also need to put action toward that dream.
mm-hmm.
Faith without works is dead.
right.
So
right.
we have to also remember that, put action toward, that dream. Just don't sit there and keep
Right.
thinking about it. Put action towards it,
Right.
and God will honor that. So I think that was a good thing while just kind of sitting there listening to you talk.
And it wasn't, and it was, even though I had the dream, and even though I now begin to believe, it was still adversity that came.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But the adversity didn't stop my belief.
That's right. That's good. That's
So
really good.
regardless of what you believe,
Mhm.
don't let adversity stop your belief.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so good. And then the last one we talked about was some blended families have worked and some not so well, and why. And I think this was a really deep conversation in which we have had people, DM us, to let us know that they really enjoyed this segment of this particular episode, and some have thanked us, for having this episode. And I think sometimes people do want to say things in that particular time. They might not have the voice to say it, and so we feel like we will be that voice for those that are voiceless, to say some of these things, that some of the things that people are actually going through right now with blended families. So I'll let you kind of talk about, some of the things we talked about, how some blended families have worked and some not so well, and why. It's like some are peaceful blended families and some are like war zones, and why is that?
Yeah, and a blended family is not easy. It's not an easy thing to get into. That's just point blank. It's not an easy thing to get into, and you got to make sure that God is the center of all this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so you got to make sure God is the center. And this is not an easy thing. So, and we talked about how when we got married, our kids were only like 3 and maybe 16 months, 15 months, something like that.
Right.
And I think it was easier for them more so than somebody who's going into a blended family that's maybe a teenager, that's maybe 13 or 14.
That's hard. That can be hard.
That's harder.
Yeah.
Because they maybe be accustomed to their biological parents, and now they got to get accustomed to somebody who's not that biological.
Or maybe even not. Maybe just accustomed to, that person that's coming in.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
And also, in my case, I didn't have children, so how would I handle? I thought about how would I handle being around the kids all the time, and how would the kids handle being around me all the time? And all this is a process to where it's not always an easy process, and you have to be patient and allow time for it to kind of develop into. Gotta give it time to develop into something peaceful, so to speak. But this blended families, man, it can be, if you're not, how can I say this? And I'll say this: we didn't get counseling for it. We just kind of just jumped into it.
Yeah.
And even though we didn't get counseling, we had our parents that we watched in our upbringing that kind of helped us. And we made mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't always perfect, but I don't advise nobody just to jump into it.
Yeah.
I advise you to get counseling to, from, your pastor or, some other counselor or, somebody with some wisdom that can impart to you on, what to do concerning blended families, what not to do. Maybe talk about some mistakes can be made that could, cause a lot of drama and tension. And, but at the end of the day, it can be a blessing. It can be something blessed. So things worked out for us.
Yeah, and we also kind of talked about, within those blended families, setting boundaries, the adult to adult conversation that's really needed. We also talked about the respect of it all, like the kids and the bonus mom and the bonus dad, and just having liberty for a conversation to take place and making sure the adults are having that maturity level in the family unit. We talked about that.
Because, like I said, you may be experiencing something where the adults may not want to talk to each other. The woman, she getting married now, I don't want to talk to her husband.
I don't want to deal with it.
I don't want to deal with
it. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And, we didn't talk, we didn't have an adult to adult conversation. You know what I'm saying? But I think that would have been good, and it still worked out. But it's possibly good to have, because everybody can see where everybody's coming from, and it could possibly head off any drama or any issues that may arise later on down the line. So, and it's more than one way to handle a thing. It's more than one way to do a thing.
Yeah.
We just bring up the conversation. We just bring up suggestions, and we just saying, don't just jump into it. Kind of like we did. Just get, use wisdom. Get wisdom from other people. Get wisdom from people that maybe already have a blended family and it's working. And that would be good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Get wisdom from
Absolutely.
a blended family that's peaceful, not
Right. Yeah. It's
not a
war
blended
zone.
family that's full of drama and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But find somebody that that's got a blended family and it's working well, and kind of get wisdom from them. So, but in the end, it worked out. God blessed us, and it can work out for you as well. So.
Yeah, and we did talk about is God the center of it all? Like, is God the center of it all? Like, is he in the center of it all with that family unit, and how that's what helped us, because God was in our family unit.
Right.
So just making sure, that's important. It is important.
Right. It is important.
Yeah.
Because if God is the center, he's now you give him full reign to, work any issues that you may be dealing with. He'll give you wisdom. He'll give you peace. He'll give you he'll help you be able to see things before they happen.
Yeah.
And it's God is the center. God being the center is the most important thing in a blended family. And God being the center in any family, whether it's blended or not, is an important thing also.
So we were just given preventative measures, so you won't be blindsided if you are thinking about going into a relationship while dating, or even about to tie the knot, and having liberty to the conversations, making sure that you allow grace and a process for adjusting each situation while going into the unit of that blended family. So that's all we have for you guys today from the Game to Grace. We We pray that this segment and the episodes that were before you have been a blessing to you, and that if they have, shoot us a DM, let us know, and we'll talk to you soon. And I'm Candace from The Game to Grace.
See y'all later.